Hello everybody, Jake here and welcome to the hobby. Today we are checking out the brand new Mega Evolution Perfect Order Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box. This ETB is currently going for $125, and if you would guess that this is the cheapest Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box on the secondary market, then you would be right. It is actually the cheapest ETB on the secondary market. Some of the other cheaper ones include Temporal Forces as well as Shrouded Fable, being some of the cheaper ones. I haven't done this in a while, but if you ever want to rip open the ETB cover, you do get yourself some kind of like weird, cool posters inside if you enjoy something like that. I'm not a huge fan of the Pokemon Center ETB, and a big part of that is that I think the promos inside are incredibly lazy. I'm not a huge fan of them just putting a Pokemon Center stamp onto the ETB promos and calling it a day. I think they should be exclusive promos if they were to do something really special. I think that makes it a lot more interesting. Obviously, the challenge is that if you do not have a Pokemon Center available for you to purchase from, then you're just kind of out of luck. But that's just how the Pokemon company does stuff. I'm completely fine with them having some regional exclusives. Obviously, the Pokemon Center stamp ones are exclusive to the international side of the hobby, since these are not available to the Japanese collecting audience or the Korean collecting audience or the Chinese collecting audience, or I guess any other areas that don't have Pokemon Center stamp ETBs at all. We got ourselves the Tyrunt boy. I actually think this Pokemon Center ETB is perfectly fine for what it is. It is the current cheapest Pokemon Center ETBs right now. I don't think that's going to stay that way forever. I do think this is going to slowly climb. There are worse ETB promo cards than the Tyrunt. The Tyrunt is not a popular one for a couple of different reasons. It is a cute dino boy. The problem with Tyrunt is that it's not a Gen 1 Pokemon. It was unfortunately born in a much later gen, and that does hurt it quite a bit because there's a huge premium on Gen 1. If you look at the most expensive ETBs on the secondary market right now, some of the more expensive one includes the Paldea Evolve Pokemon Center ETB, as well as the 151 ETB, as well as the Evolving Skies ETBs. Those are some of the more popular ones, and you can probably sort of guess why. The Paldea Evolve ETB only had one cycle to it, and it has a really cool promo card inside. It's not particularly one that I'm interested in, even though I am a Pikachu collector. But like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the stamp. I think anyone that pays a heavy premium just because a card says the word Pokemon Center on it is kind of silly, but you're more than welcome to buy it. I just won't be one of those people that buy a card just because it has the word Pokemon Center written on it. I don't think that personally adds any exclusivity to me. I'd rather have something else really represent exclusivity, you know? There are cards out there that are very exclusive, something like the limited Chinese Mew. You know, there's only 1,510 copies of that. While that card is exclusive, the real focus is that it has unique art. And, you know, just a card having unique art, I think, is a lot more important than having the Pokemon Center stamp. Hey, there's a dual blade. We pulled one of these inside of the Card Lounge podcast, so absolutely check that out. Really cool illustration rare. I am a huge fan of Perfect Order because I think it's a perfect set for what it is. Very small, self-contained set, you know. If you've heard my philosophy, I'm not a huge fan of giant sets. While giant sets are incredibly fun, they make it incredibly challenging for anyone to complete. You know, there's been some very large sets in the past. Paldea Evolve is a very large set. Cosmic Eclipse was a very large set. And those sets are cool because they are so huge, you know. If you think about it, Paldea Evolve is a very popular set, and Cosmic Eclipse is a very popular set. But it's very hard to collect. It's impossible to master some of these sets because they are so incredibly large. And some of these set size, if you notice, they're getting a lot smaller. You know, 88 cards inside of a main series set is tiny. That is a very small main series set. Almost too small, honestly, but I kind of like the fact that it's self-contained. And after ripping open this Perfect Order Pokemon Center ETB, I don't really need to collect that much more, you know? Because the hobby is in such a glut right now, there is so much excess of people just wanting to collect everything that I think a small set, something that really preaches moderation, is actually kind of nice. Perfect Order is one of those sets where if you rip open one, maybe two booster box, you're going to get pretty much every one of the 88 cards inside of the main set. You're not going to pull every illustration rare or SIR, you might not even pull a single one, but you do basically get every single card inside of the set. And it makes it so that you don't have to rip open hundreds of booster boxes of this set to complete it. You know, a lot of other sets like Prismatic Evolution, Ascended Heroes, they're so large and so glut-filling that it's impossible to collect them, and it really encourages people to buy a ton of booster packs to collect everything. So while some people might think a set like Perfect Order is kind of boring, and I totally get it, if you're skipping Perfect Order, that makes total sense. There's maybe nothing in here that you really want, and that's completely fine, but it really makes it so that some of these packs start to actually drop in price, because $200 for a booster box or $125 for a Pokemon Center ETB is still very, very expensive. I still remember the days a year and a half ago when you could buy multiple Pokemon Center ETBs every single day if you wanted to, because they never ran out. You could buy as many Brilliant Stars or Lost Origin Pokemon Center ETBs as you wanted, because they never really ran out of any of those. The Pokemon Center always had more, and in fact, the Lost Origin Pokemon Center ETB doesn't even have a promo card inside of it. It's just got one extra pack. They didn't even do the stamp on the Pokemon Center ETBs back in those days. So they've gone a little bit better. At least the Pokemon Center stamp gives these ETBs a little bit more something. Now, the question is, should you pick up a Perfect Order Pokemon Center ETB? And I think the fact that it's $125, you know, if you don't want to promote the secondary market, I completely understand that, you know, more power to you. You do not have to buy one of these ETBs. However, I will say it is not the worst Pokemon Center ETB, not by a long shot. I think like other sets have way worse promos inside of them. So because this set does not have the worst promo card inside of it, I do think it's actually going to over time climb to no longer be the cheapest Pokemon Center ETB. So take that how you will. We pulled ourselves one illustration rare and two ultra rare EX inside of our ETB. We only had ourselves like 10 booster packs, so it's nothing super crazy. That's very much to be expected. The big chase card inside of the set is going to be probably the Meowth. It's probably going to be the most expensive SIR inside of the set. I don't think Zygarde is going to really hold its ground, or Zygarde, however you want to pronounce it. The Tyrant promo card is really, really sweet. I think it's kind of cute, so feel free to pick it up. It's actually the most affordable Pokemon Center ETB right now if you want one, but if you don't want to support the secondary market, I completely understand that. There's also a chance that the Pokemon Center might do another restock of these ETBs in the next couple months, so you never know. Be on the lookout for it. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are on Perfect Order as well as Pokemon Center ETBs, because I personally am not a huge fan of them, but I do know that a lot of people, especially the investor bros, really love them, because boy, some of the even slightly older ETBs are going for thousands of dollars, which is pretty wild. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.